Alright, so this is going to be the final episode for the year. It's been an incredible year. We've been slowly growing in numbers, and I'm thankful to everyone that watches the content. As we look towards the future, or the even very near future, you look at Nike working within the metaverse, trying to create token-based sneakers, Adidas, Gucci and other places doing things where you can try on a shoe before you buy it to see how it looks on feet. These are all things that we know are happening in the future, but this list here is going to be 10 things I would like to see next year. The first one is more content from companies. I think Adidas and Nike have taken a real good step in the right direction with their original content. You know, little interviews, the drop-off, things like that on the sneaker app. But I think they could do more. I'd like to see maybe them venture into YouTube. I know obviously watching the content on the Nike app or the sneakers app contributes to you getting early access, but I haven't had early access in a while. I feel like that was really has now been manipulated for people to cop to resell, but it is what it is. But I'd like to see some more content. I'd love to see New Balance step into the ring with some content. I'd even watch a bit of Yeezy content if it wasn't just him self-serving himself. If it was, you know, maybe giving back to the community, whatever it is. But just some original content. I think that'd be dope. The next thing I don't want to see in 2022 is no more rinse and repeat collabs. I feel like, I said it before, it feels like they get set certain parameters either by the brand or Nike, and then designers that are no way affiliated with the brand put these shoes and these collabs together, and it just feels a little forced, a little cookie cutter, and I'd like to see something a bit different. I was thinking about it the other day, and I'd love to see like the current KD shape, but like retroed, like a retro type version of it. Throw that exact same shape, but put like a leather on it or something like that, and turn it into something that would be more a lifestyle shoe, but within the same parameters of that shoe. Almost like a luxury / lifestyle version. Something like that would be dope. I think the Armani 3s were a good step in the direction of a collab that worked, but you know, the Armani 1s and the 2s that are in the mix, feels like once something works, obviously like those collabs have been in the works for a while, but yeah, I don't want to see any more backwards swooshes, if you get my drift. Also, why does a collaboration have to be about product? Maybe it's two brands coming together to do something, an event, you know, something for the community, content. Just my thoughts. I'd also like to see a prominent Jordan silhouette on Nike ID. I believe this is very pie in the sky, but even if you did it with like something like a Jordan 2 that's meant to come out next year, there's been a little bit of hype with the off-white joints. J Balvin's got one coming. I think there's a Union collab as well. Something like that would be dope, and a good way to bring it back, similar to what they did with the Dunk, build on the hype of that. Why not? Obviously for me, I would prefer a Jordan 1, 3 or 4. I know personally, I'll probably spend more time on the creator shoe feature on 2K than I do actually playing 2K. So I've got designs ready to go, but for me, I don't think it'll ever happen. The last time I remember was like a Jordan Spizike, and even that I'd be stoked on. Just give us one. Do it for all the people that miss out. Even though people will still probably miss out because it happened with the Dunks. This year was a really big year for original ideas, and I want to see more of that in 2022. Things like the Air Max New Dawn, or Jordan coming away from basketball and doing things in newer silhouettes within running and lifestyle models. Some hit, some miss, but it was great to see. New Balance 5740, one of my favorite shoes this year. I just feel like as much as I will continue to wear Jordan 1s and Dunks and, you know, things, 3s, 4s, things that, you know, do well, but why can't we have original ideas too? It feels like we're stuck on this nostalgia tip between 80s and 90s, and eventually and it has to some degree where, you know, things from the early 2000s are now nostalgic to us. But there's still room for original ideas, and that's what I want to see more of in 2022. This is a big one. This is a big one. I want to see more responsibility taken by these companies. To me, obviously, you can never stop the resell element, because even if, say, I get a pair of sneakers or a raffle, and I get them in hand and I don't like them, I could potentially resell them, right? But when Foot Locker had products sent to individual stores, now this is just an example, there's obviously many places that I feel like need to take some responsibility in this as well, and there has been steps made, don't get me wrong. When the product was shipped to individual stores, they could see the orders, and they said to me, the staff, they said it's pretty easy to spot a bot order because it'll have like random, like a letter at the front, then just a random combination of numbers and letters. Obviously not a person's name, so they just cancelled them. That stock then sat on the shelf and people could see them when they came into store, which for me is the best experience. If they can do that at individual stores, I don't understand why they can't do that at distribution centers, within bigger companies, which they're going to have more manpower anyway. Food for thought. Like I said, they've obviously, you know, everyone seems to be making moves in a positive direction, but there can also be more responsibility taken, more ownership of the issue. Which leads me to transparency. Now, obviously, businesses can't give everything away, but I feel like some level of transparency will help. If resellers know there's going to be a crazy number of pairs of a certain shoe, generally they'll leave it alone because it's not going to be that profitable. It's going to be easy for other people to get, and it just seems like too much hard work. And then you get people that maybe on the fringe or the cusp of reselling but don't really do it full time. They're into it too, so there's more competition within that shoe, but I feel like it all helps. I feel like we started to see a bit of transparency when they announced how the algorithm works within sneakers, early access, all that type of stuff. But within transparency, you know, it'd be great if there was a bit of communication as well. Not necessarily just telling us things how to, you know, how to succeed, and then having it rubbed in our face that the CEO gets a kick when he wins on sneakers. It's like, son, you could ring up and get whatever you want at any time. I'd like to see some more transparency on Adidas's end as well. They could almost go together, these two, but responsibility and transparency doesn't seem too hard for me. Too hard for these companies to do, but we'll just have to see in 2022. This was a big one. Primarily for one brand. The main brand. The biggest brand. The one that makes the most money. Why? Because they don't have any quality control. I'd love in 2022 if companies, specifically Nike, took their quality control a little bit more serious. Because let's face it, I could show the dunk every day of the week. People, the fragment dunks, stitching was going like this throughout the midsole where it completely missed but was sewn into the actual sole bit, not where it should be stitched. These things shouldn't be happening. And I feel like the reason they do happen is these releases are so limited that if we return them, we don't think we're going to be able to get them, so we put up with the flaws. That's how I felt. Maybe you did too. But in 2022, I want to see quality control taken a lot more seriously. This is another one that I've complained about a fair bit, and I mentioned it in the last video. The reason why I don't like purchasing directly from Nike, the Nike Australia website, is because it takes too long, especially within this COVID environment that we're in right now, because all the product comes from the Netherlands. Now, I've been told, no, it comes from Australia, this, that, and the other, but you go to your order, you can check, you can see where it's gone from. Unless it's a Nike ID, it comes from like Singapore, I think, but you know, that's a lot closer than the Netherlands. How is it that I can get a shoe custom made and delivered quicker than I can just purchasing something that's sitting in a warehouse? It's crazy to me. In 2022, I want to see a lot more stock directly allocated to Nike Australia that's distributed from Nike Australia. I understand more warehousing, more costs, but let's face it, you guys aren't running out of money anytime soon. Let's be really real. And the way you keep on putting up the price of Jordan retros, when, you know, in the instance of a Jordan 1, it costs fuck all to make. And I understand why you're doing this, and it's similar to what I've seen people do in, say, music with vinyl. Because if a certain record or shoe is reselling for this, we can sell retail a little bit closer to here, you know what I mean? Because obviously people are willing to pay for it. I get it. But for me, in 2022, when I hit on sneakers, if that ever happens, might have happened like twice this year, maybe once. I want the stock to be here within a week, not taken in time, a month. This is a really big one, and it almost could have been the #1 thing I want to see in 2022. But next year, in 2022, I would love to see a pre-order system. I would love to see, with retros, bigger releases. You know, when it's an OG colorway, obviously when they do like when they did the Bread 4, the Bread 11, the Cool Grey 11s, Black Cement 3s, they make it an all-store release. There's a lot of stock. The next step in that, in my opinion, with those type of releases, is a pre-order system. Now obviously you can't do it for everything, because that would eliminate the hype, cuts into the money. But if you did it for these, where it's more like that nostalgic feel, and you know, it makes everybody happy. Plus you're probably going to sell more pairs. If I had to wait, obviously we talked about waiting, I don't like waiting, but if you told me from jump, if I order these, say now, which is December, and then orders would be cut off maybe a day later, but I'm guaranteed to get the shoe that I want in, say, January, February. That's when they actually release. I'm not going to be mad at that. I'm not. Will bots still potentially try and order up 10 pairs so they can resell them? Sure, but what's going to be the point? Most people that want them will have already got them. #1 thing I want to see in 2022 is in-store releases. Now this is going to be really hard, because for a while there, when everything was calm, we were campaigning for it, and it seemed like it may eventually happen, and to some extent it did. But then obviously we've had, you know, massive outbreaks again, and you know, it seems like it's doomed. But the Cool Grey 11s are a great example. There was no mention of them going to stores, they were just there. So if you happen to walk into your store, you saw them. Why can't we do that? If we know the Cool Grey, I keep going to say Cool Grey 3s. If we know the Cool Grey 11s are going to drop in December, right? Do it periodically throughout all your stores. Give them a size run. And people have just got to walk in. And it is a true first come, first serve. There's no date, we're lining up, camping out, fuck all that. You just randomly got to happen to be in there. Even if you did it like we put them out at 3 p.m. It's a random time, and just if you've seen them, if you got them, cool. If you didn't, you didn't. We can go back to the lineups, and we eventually will. But I think the way that my local did it, and obviously there'd be other Foot Lockers did it, where they just arrive, not even on release day. These arrive like maybe 3 or 4 days later. They just happen to be there, and they got a full size run. If I hadn't copped the 2 pairs that I'd already copped, and I just walked in the store, it would have blown my mind, and that excitement would have just been through the roof. It's much more fun than typing all your information into a raffle and hoping for the best. Sitting on sneakers, refreshing, hoping for the best. It's still the same chance, but I feel like this is better. Like when I saw those Lightning 4s, blew my mind. Obviously my size wasn't there, so that low, I went from high to low, but if I had seen my size, if I was there a day earlier, I'd get my size. But I prefer that instance to what we have now. But what do you guys think? This is what I want to see in 2022. But I want to see what you guys want to see in 2022. We mentioned content. What type of content do you guys want to see? Let us know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next year. Peace.